We have
Yep.
Charlotte versus Paige for the Divas Championship.
Very controversial.
I'm going with Paige.
All right, going with Charlotte. I think I'm going to go with Charlotte.
And what I mean by Paige is Paige will walk out as champion. Not a DQ, not a count out. Paige is going to walk out as champion.
All right, I'm going to go with Charlotte. I think.
Okay.
Here's something interesting. I don't know if you knew or not, but the angle that happened on Raw last week. Do you know Ric Flair did not know that was happening? Usually when they do when they do a controversial angle, usually, and they did this like with Paul Bear, they did this with Jerry Lawler, and they did this with a couple others. Usually they will get permission. I think they did with Eddie Guerrero as well, Rey Mysterio. They'll get permission from the family of which this is affecting. And as long as they have permission, then they can go on with the controversial storyline. And most of the times they'll give permission because even though it's wrong, it draws a lot of heat. It's for the business, and this is how these guys are programmed. And you know what I mean? There's no level too low of scumbaggishness to get over an angle, basically, to get that heat or whatever it comes out to. But I thought it was very, very interesting that a man like Ric Flair, who is, in the company, whose daughter is the Divas Champion, how this angle happened. And to anyone who doesn't know the angle, what happened was, at the end of Raw, they actually main evented with, and I don't even know if you want to call it a main event anymore because it seems like the ratings are like the lowest at the main event time. But anyway, they ended the show off with Paige and Charlotte, and Paige said basically they brought up Charlotte's brother, which is Ric Flair's son, who recently, I think about 2 years ago, died from a heroin overdose. And I think Paige said something on the lines of, Charlotte was saying something that, I fight just like my baby brother did, just like my dad did, blah, blah, blah. And Paige said something along the lines of, well, it looks like your little brother didn't have that much fight in him, alluding to the fact that he got hooked on heroin and obviously died from an overdose. And it was for shock value. I am among the thought that if Flair was in on it, and Charlotte was in on it, and everybody was in on it, then I would not have had a problem with it at all. People were going nuts about that, saying how wrong and controversial it was. And I know Ric Flair's ex-wife, Reed Flair, which is the son and brother who died, his mother thought it was tasteless, and she said something on Twitter. Rick said on his podcast that he was not in on it. He was like a broken man. He was very sad, which is surprising to me. I know they wanted to get the angle over, but it's surprising to me that he wasn't in on it. It just was very surprising, and because he was not in on it, I disagree with it. But that's just me. What do you think? What do you feel?
Well, okay. I guess I kind of disagree with you on this because you have so many people on the internet saying, we miss Attitude Era, we miss Attitude Era, we miss Attitude Era. And then they get this. It's like the exact same thing of what they did in the Attitude Era, and all of a sudden people are up in arms about it. They did this stuff all the time in the Attitude Era where they would play on a real-life situation. They'd bring it into the storyline and make, okay, Paige is such a bitch now because how dare she bring this up, And now Charlotte has to be the redeemer.
Well, the heat's not on Paige. The heat's not on Paige. The heat's on the company.
But what I'm saying though is this is what they would do back then. Is now the heat would be on Paige.
Right, but this isn't back then.
But people are saying that they want the Attitude Era back, and then when they get something like this, it's like, well, we're just going to throw all this aggression towards the company. It's like,
do you think social media? Do you think social media and the smartness of the fans is the reason that the Attitude Era can never come back? Like, there's no real shock in anything anymore because everybody knows everything within 3 seconds anyway.
See,
and there's just
I wouldn't exactly say that these fans would be considered smart. I mean, these are probably the same fans that say what I said and they want the Attitude Era, and then they catch that glimpse and it's like, oh, what do we do with this? What do we do now? And I think that's what's going to be the ultimate downfall of pro wrestling. The fans keep clamoring for something. They want something. They bitch and they moan and they complain. And when they finally get it, it's like, oh, what do we do? Well, that worked.
Yeah.
Now what are we going to do? You know what I mean?
I do see your point. I do. I just think and I'm not even talking about any of the fans on this. I'm just thinking the whole WWE to Ric Flair thing. I just think if I had a kid who died, no matter how it happened, I was and you know a person that I basically consider one of my best friends is basically running the company right now.
I agree.
I worked for this company for on and off for 30 years. You know what I mean? Like my whole career is based around this company, and for them to disrespect my family and my dead son that way, that's what I have the problem with. It's not the fans. I think, like I said, if Flair was in on it, it's his son. You know what I mean? If his wife, the mother, was in on it, I would be all gung ho for it. I'd be like, wow, I can't believe it. I just think on a personal level, if it was my son, and I don't have kids, but if it was, that's where I would have the problem. I think that's where I would draw the line. But
I agree.
That's the only thing. As far as the fans go, if as a fan, if I didn't follow this sport the way I did, and I was just a regular fan, first off, I probably wouldn't even know what the hell they're talking about, because all Paige really said was, "Your little brother didn't have fight in you." He doesn't know that it was because of a heroin overdose. They didn't bring that up. You know what I mean? They just alluded to the fact that he had passed away. So as a fan, I guess I'd be a little confused, if I didn't know everything. And then I would obviously I would still get the message like, oh, it's because of this, But I don't know.